business page to see. All right, so we are live technically. Let's see how this goes. We'll give a couple, like a little bit. I don't know how many people will jump in here, but it's
Yeah.
going to record.
Okay.
So let me
Cool.
make sure the sound is okay. Um, I'm going to have Taylor check as well. I'm waiting to see if anybody jumps on here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
No,
never
no
know,
worries.
but it'll record it and then we'll have the recording.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are six
Awesome.
people. So if someone could let me know if you guys hear us, if you hear an echo, if you hear us both, anybody out there want to comment and let me know? We can hear you. Oh, good. Hi, Cassie. How are you?
Yay.
You guys are gonna love this story. I'm so excited. I told my husband to sneak in here and sit and listen. So, no echo. Good. Because look, I got
I
headphones
got
on
my
this time.
husband's
Yeah,
into.
so
I've
we're
never
good.
used these before.
Well, funny story for those of you who are saying no echo. When I was logging in tonight into StreamYard, which is what we use, it said use quality headphones to prevent echo. And I was like, could have used that warning last week or last time. Anyway, I am so excited for your story. Like literally when you shared your story, I had tears flowing and goosebumps, and I'm just like, you go, girl. So I figured what we'll do is go back, tell a little history, like what number pregnancy,
Mhm.
and just how you ended up finding us, and
Yeah.
just tell your story.
Yeah, I'd love to, Trish. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited too. I've been smiling all day just thinking about it.
Oh, I love it.
Um, so this was my second pregnancy. Let me start a little bit. So I live in the Cleveland, Ohio area with my husband and a dog and my son who's 21 months. So with this being my second pregnancy, there were some things I was just looking for, and a lot of it came from when I delivered my son. And with that delivery, I mean, really everything went well. Like I couldn't complain. Like it was smooth. He and I were both healthy, no complications. Everything went, if you look at it smoothly. But afterwards, my recovery was a little bit rough. And looking at it, I thought, I wonder if this has to do not so much with having an epidural, but the position I delivered in and things like that. And so when I did have him, yes, I delivered on my back. I had pubic symphysis pain my whole pregnancy. And so going in, I had seen a physical therapist and like try not to deliver on your back, side lying would be best. And so when I got into the hospital bed and I got my epidural and I was feeling good, they're like, well, my husband was like, Liz, don't you want to lay on your side? And I was like, oh no, I'm in this position on my back. It's fine. That's where they want me, like, whatever. So I delivered him on my back, and then afterwards, some of the problems with recovery were like, yes, I tore, but that was the least of the problems. But I had really bad tailbone pain for probably 6 months after I delivered him. And I think that, I think that was just the position I was in, and no one thought to like raise me up a little bit or get me in just a slightly different position so that I didn't have that pain. My legs were so swollen afterwards for like a week, and it hurt to just like sit and nurse him and things like that. And so those are the reasons that I was kind of looking for something else. And I just wanted to be in control of my labor and delivery, at least as much as you can be, and kind of be educated so that I, knew things to look for, knew what to avoid. And, of course, if things needed and I had to get a C-section or something like that, I knew when it was, right to say yes and when I should say no. And that's what I wanted. So that's a little bit about me and my background and where we are. So, yeah.
Yeah, so you come across our course and you jump in our
Yep.
course. And so, did any of your plans for your birth change, or did it just like come alongside what you already felt and like reinforce that? Or do you feel like there were things that you were like, oh, wow, I didn't even think of that? Or because it sounds like you were
Yeah.
already researching.
Yeah, there was a ton that I didn't know once I started the course. So I'll even back up a little bit too. So like when I got pregnant this time around, I went in and I had to find a new practice because we had moved from South Carolina to Ohio. So when I found a new provider, it was an OB, and I really liked her, except for the first appointment that I had with her. She said like, well. When you're getting close to your due date, if I'm on call, we'll go ahead and induce you so I can deliver you. And I was just uh, like what? And I
No.
think if I, right, like, and one thing that I definitely learned in your course is like when you can say no and you can question them, and oftentimes they'll go with it. So I very well could have been like, oh no, that's not what I want. And she may have been like, fine. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I ended up switching providers to a midwife, and that's when I started your course, like right around the same time, and I learned so much. So yes, I knew that I wanted to be in control of things, and I knew that I wanted to try an unmedicated birth because I thought that would give me the best chance of having that control. But just the course taught me so much. I'm type A, like I want I want to have everything like all lined up. And so it just helped me learn like, okay, these are the stages of labor. So I know what's happening to me when it's happening. This is the different things that I can try to get in a good position and get comfortable and get through the pain. I didn't know any of that. I just knew that I wanted to have an unmedicated birth and I wanted to have some control over things as best I could. And I learned all of that just by
So
taking
let me
your course.
let me let me stop you there because I get hundreds of DMs of people like saying, I
Mm-hmm.
really want to have this birth, and like I'm so like encouraging of that. But what, like, me, I'm like, you have to take a class. Like there's
Yeah.
no options otherwise. Do you feel you would have gotten the birth that you got if you had just had the desire to be in control, but not the education or the support? Because I feel like our community, we add the support
Mm-hmm.
in as well.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I would have had those things without the course and the support and the education and all that. I mean, who knows? But I
Right.
think, to be honest, I think I would have had a really traumatic birth once we get into like what happened and
Yeah.
how things went. I think that
I can't wait to get into it. Okay.
I think I can imagine how poorly that would have gone if I didn't know what was happening to me and what I could, what I could
Yeah.
stick up for myself and tell
Yeah.
what I wanted to do and go from there. So yeah,
That
absolutely.
that's everything. Like I've
Mhm.
been doing this fearless birth experience because the courses are open for
Yeah.
live enrollment right now.
Yeah.
And I've been telling the moms like knowledge, yes, it's power, but you have to be able to apply it as well. So it's a combination of a desire to own your birth, then having the education, then being willing to apply it and to like
Yeah.
lean into your birth experience. So now everybody is like probably dying to hear it all. So go ahead and walk us through the end of your pregnancy. Like, how
Yeah.
far along were you? What was happening? They all like everyone always loves to hear like, did you have some pre-labor signs or labor signs, or did you
Yeah.
do cervical exams in your appointments? Like all of the things.
Yeah. So I'd be happy to. So I had a really uneventful pregnancy. Everyone, we were both healthy and all that throughout it. No complications. Um, Going back to my son, I did deliver my son about 10 days early. So that does, I think, play a little bit of a role in some of the decisions I made. But at, I think, 37 weeks and 2 days, I had a little bit of leaking. And so I wasn't sure if I just peed or if my water broke or not. So I ended up going into the hospital to get checked. And and I had not had any sort of cervical exam or anything like that, just typical, um, you know, uh, exams, just checks, blood pressure and all that. So go in, they do a couple of tests to see, and my water had not broken, but they didn't even do a cervical exam because I didn't really want one. And so that was 37 weeks, go to my 38-week exam. And because my son was so early, I kind of wanted to know, where are we?
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. So
It's
my
that type
midwife,
A again, right?
yeah, just kind of want to know, knowing
Yeah.
that it doesn't really mean anything, but I
Yeah.
just am curious. So my midwife was actually just palpating my belly to see like what position the baby was in, and she's like, "Oh, baby's really dropped. Like baby's really low." And I didn't know the gender. That's why I'm referring to baby as baby,
Yeah.
but she's a she. So she's checking. She's like, "Oh, that's like really low." And I was like, "Okay, let's do a cervical exam." So she did a cervical exam, and she's like, "Oh, um, the baby's low." And so the whole plan with this pregnancy was, of course, I wanted to go unmedicated. I wanted to labor at home for as long as possible. I, wanted to use like water, get in a bath at home, get in a bath at the hospital, that sort of thing. But one of the big things, and my midwife was totally on board, was stay at home as long as possible. That's the kind of the best chance of having an unmedicated birth.
Yeah.
But when she checked me, she was like, "Don't wait. Just don't wait. Just when you start having contractions, you need to go in the hospital." Okay, great. Sounds like a plan. So she said I was 4 centimeters dilated, 70% effaced, I think, and baby was at like +1 station, like pretty low.
That's very low.
Yes. So it was like, okay. So I'm thinking this baby's coming, like I might have a day and stuff, but baby decided to wait. So a whole week went by, and we went in for my exam. I was actually 38 weeks, 6 days. We went in, and basically same position. Baby's still really low. I'm maybe a little bit thinner, dilated about 4 to 5 centimeters. We decided to do a membrane sweep. So she did the membrane sweep. And nothing happened then. My water didn't break or anything like that, thankfully. So I went home, and then the next day I had off from work, and so I got
So
my
you're
son
still
to.
working up to this point. Four
Yeah,
centimeters with a low baby.
yeah, yeah. Thankfully, I was like really taking it easy.
Yeah.
I was like working a few hours a day, and but yes, I was still technically working and all that. So, yep. So it was Friday. Didn't work. So after the little one gets to school, I'm like, I'm just going to kind of relax a little bit. I think this is going to happen soon. I want to be ready, and have like my energy and stuff like that. My husband was golfing. Looking back, that might have been a mistake, but it all worked out. So I
Yeah.
decided to take a walk. So I just walked outside on in my neighborhood. Again, I had the pubic symphysis pain, so I didn't do any like curb walking or anything like that. But baby was very low,
Yeah.
so I think it was fine.
No need to engage.
No need. So after I walked, I just kind of went back in the house and sat in my recliner and was like, I feel kind of, like crampy. Like these aren't contractions, like, oh gosh, this is happening, but like, something might be happening soon. Prior to that, I hadn't really had any like real anything that I was worried about contractions. I certainly was having Braxton Hicks, but I kind of recognized them as Braxton Hicks, and those were happening probably a month but prior to
Hmm.
delivery. And so these were similar, but kind of just a little bit more like steady throughout the day. And there was no start and stop. It was just a generalized like cramping. So I just tried to drink a lot of water and decided, let's just like rest. Again, like this isn't like true labor contractions like I had with my son. So we're just gonna hang out. So we did our normal routine, had dinner. The husband and I went downstairs and were like watching TV, and same, just like crampy, but nothing really else happening. So we decided to go upstairs and go to bed. We lay down and we're just kind of chatting. And they're starting to get a little bit stronger, but still nothing like a start and stop. I'm like, okay, well, let's just go to bed. And then I think I got up and went and used the restroom, went back in bed, and I was like, oh, that was like a real start and stop, but still not like a can't
Yeah.
talk contraction. So we had to have my parents come up to watch the toddler while we're in the hospital. So we called them. They're 40 minutes away. And I was like, okay, I think we'll be okay. These aren't like painful yet. Like, just call them. So they're, get on their way. And we start to get things ready. So like, I had to put pillowcases on a bed. We had to pack get the bags like fully in the car. I wanted to eat a snack, that sort of thing. So I go to put the pillowcases on the bed and I have like a can't talk contraction. I'm like, oh no. So I yell for my husband. I'm like, Kevin, we can't wait. We can't wait for my parents. So luckily we had a neighbor on call that was available. So we called her and she like ran over to the house right away. I remember when she got here, I was like leaning against the wall, like having a contraction, and they were coming like every 3 minutes. And I mean, this all happened
So
within
they
10
went
minutes.
from not much to all hell
Nothing.
breaking loose. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And right, like within 10
Second
minutes, I have
babies, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
3 like strong contractions. The neighbor's here. Crap. So I'm like, Kevin, we gotta go. So we get in the car. And
So
I mean,
what is Kevin like? What is he like at this
he is
point?
super calm. He's like, okay, Kelly, the neighbor, like, here's, what you need. And I'm
Did
like,
he do your classes with you or the coach class or?
he didn't do the classes with me, but he did the coaches class. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And I
Good
am
for him.
surprised. Yes, I am so proud of him.
Yeah.
He stayed so calm.
Yeah.
So we get in the car, everything's in
Too
there.
calm. You're like, speed it up, please.
Yeah, like, come on, we gotta go, buddy. And I remember like buckling up and him like starting to back out. And I'm thinking, we really should have put something under me in case my water breaks, but too late, let's
Too
go.
late.
And I was also thinking, man, we should really have a bucket in here, because with my son, when I started to go into transition and active, like right before I had to push, I vomited. And so I was a little bit worried about that, but I was like, well, too late, we're gone.
Yeah. No turning back.
No turning back. Let's go. So he's driving, you can tell he's a little bit nervous, but he's doing really well to stay calm and keep me calm because I mean, I think at this point I'm in transition, and that's something from your course that was really important to me is like, I knew the stages of labor and like what was happening to my body. And I was like kind of starting to lose my mind. So I was like, this is not good.
Well,
we're 20
and I want
minutes
to
away from the
interrupt
hospital.
you. I want to interrupt you for a second. One thing I love and what I tell you guys is that this is the rule of thumb, but this is how it presents, and you have to listen to your gut. So I love that
Yeah.
you, even though you've been told like the rule is when it's this, your gut said this is go time and we need to activate. You weren't waiting for the rule. You were listening to your body. And I love that. That's important, especially with baby number 2.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was like, I just knew. I absolutely knew this is happening.
So now you're in the car, no bucket,
we're in the car,
no pads.
No bucket, nothing under me. It's it's going to be a disaster, right? So I'm holding on to like the thing and like having these contractions, and they are so painful. And I'm just trying to like breathe and like grunt through them. And, again, my husband's staying calm, but trying to drive quickly. So just a little bit of a time frame. So it was 9:52 when we called my parents. Like we noted that time, and then like we were in the car by like 10:05. So it's evening.
At 9:52, you thought you had 40 minutes for parents to get there and then drive to the hospital.
Yeah.
Got it.
Good thing the neighbor was there. So, and I mean, and the contractions are like absolutely like at least every 3 minutes. I mean, they're coming fast, they're coming hard. Even in between, it's just like uncomfortable. So I'm trying really hard not to panic, but also that transition phase where you just like, you like lose your mind. And so I am trying to call the hospital to let them know I'm on my way. And I have it in my phone. I am. Yeah. I should have had my husband do it. He should have had the number in his phone, but retrospect.
I'm just imagining that triage nurse. If someone actually spoke to you, they were probably like, "Oh shit, she's coming."
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's exactly what they were thinking.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't even call. Like, I have the number in my phone. It's super easy. It just says Cleveland Clinic, Eastside Midwives. And like, that's all I just have to search for one of those words, and I couldn't do it. I was like trying to find their number some other way. So I finally get it through, and then there's a phone tree, and you have to hit the buttons to get there. Well, it
Oh
took me
gosh,
another
in
like 2
transition.
times. Mhm. And I was like, I kept hitting the wrong button and then having to hang up and start over. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna make it.
I didn't know this part of the story, I don't think.
Yeah. I was just like pure panic, but trying to keep it together. So
Yeah.
I finally got a hold of someone, and it's just like an answering service. So she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm in labor. My contractions are every 3 minutes. I'm coming in. And she's like, and I, like during I'm having contractions, like, okay, just talk to me as you can, whatever. So she's like, okay, I'll have the midwife call. So a minute later, the midwife calls, and same thing. I'm trying to tell them like I'm having contractions every 3 minutes. I'm this far along. This is my name. Can I even get that across? And
Yeah. Who
and
am
she's
I?
like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And so, she's like, just talk when you can, it's fine. And so I get the information across, and she's like, you're on your way, right? And I was like, yes, definitely on my way. She's like, okay, good. She's like, I'll have a bed ready for you. We're not even going to go to triage. And then because I really wanted to get in the water before I delivered, I was like, and I know that there's probably not going to be time, but if I can, I really want a room with a tub because there's only one room with a tub. And she's like,
Yeah.
okay, sure, no problem. I'll check. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So hang up. As this is going on, we are going, you have to get on the expressway to get to the hospital. As we approach the entrance ramp to the hospital, the entrance ramp is closed. There's construction. I absolutely panic because I'm thinking we're going to have to take back roads to get there. Like, let's just stop right now and call an ambulance because we're not going to make it. And my
Yeah.
husband calmly is like, it's okay. I mean, he's like, damn. He's like, it's okay. And he does a U-turn, and he finds the other entrance ramp, which is only like less than a mile away. But again, like, I'm in transition. I can't think.
Yeah.
So he calmly gets us onto the highway. Luckily, it was open, but it was down to one lane, and people were driving like 30 miles an hour. So it was extremely stressful.
I'm palpating right now with you.
It was insane. So I'm just holding on, like kind of yelling through the contractions. My husband's just like, Liz, you got this, but just super laser focused on driving and getting us there safely, but then like trying to keep me calm.
Yeah.
So we get past the construction, and we can pick up speed a little bit, and we get going. And then, all of a sudden I'm like, oh boy, Kevin, I'm really nauseous. And I'm like looking around, like maybe there's a bucket in my car. I know there's not a bucket, but maybe no
what
bucket.
is there?
I find my son's winter coat.
Oh no.
And I just projectile vomit into the coat for like a good minute. It just like doesn't stop. And God bless my husband.
Just for those of you who are listening, vomiting during labor is the best pushing during labor.
Yeah.
So when you vomit, you use the exact muscles that you use to push your baby out. So in the labor room, when we see a mom vomiting towards the end of labor, we're like, yes, that baby's coming down. In the car, not so good.
Yeah, not so good. And exactly. So my husband, he has to be, he probably had to vomit himself after all of that. And he somehow kept his cool and just kept driving and, trying to keep me calm, just, reassuring me, positive affirmations, like, just keep breathing. But in my head, I know, like, this is right when I started to push with my son, like, this is not good.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, is there a spot to pull over? I don't know. But he's like, we're almost there. And I'm like, you are so lying to me, but okay.
Yeah.
So somehow we make it, and he's, as we pull off the exit, he's like literally waving cars out of the way. I'm like, Kevin, I don't think they can see you, but sure. Okay.
Yeah.
So we pull in. Luckily the hospital is right off the exit. So we pull in, he drops me off at the entrance to the hospital. And since I thought my water had broken a couple weeks ago, I kind of knew exactly where to go. But I walk in the building, and you're supposed to it's the emergency entrance, and you're supposed to turn left to get to labor and delivery. And so I turn left, and there's a closed door in my way that wasn't there the last time. And I was like, oh no. But luckily, I think there must have been a security guard there or something, because the door just opened quickly, thankfully. And so I start walking, and mind you, I'm covered in vomit. I mean, just covered in vomit. And this very nice gentleman walks up behind me. He's like, "Oh, did your water break?" And I was like, "I'm not sure, but I'm in labor." And he's like, "Okay, it's right. You just go this way." Apparently his wife had just had a baby. So he knew exactly where to go. So he just kind of calmly walked me through the hospital, up the elevator to labor and delivery. And he's like, "Well, I think you should go first." I was like, "Thanks." So I, check in, and the lady's taking down my information again. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm saying my name right. I'm not sure, but please just get me in there. And she's like, "Okay, we're gonna go to room."
I have insurance.
I don't know, but please let me in. So she opens the door, and she takes me to a room, except for she doesn't know where she's going. So we go to the wrong hall. We have to turn around and go back. We find someone else. This other person, starts to get me on the right route. She's like, "Do you want a wheelchair?" And I was like, if anyone tries to put me in a wheelchair, I will kick it out of the way. No, there will be no wheelchair.
That would be a no.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Politely, no.
Yeah. And then later I was like, "I'm sorry I snapped at you." And she's like, "It's fine." So she gets me to a room, and they're like,
you shared that last time.
I don't think I did either.
These are the parts I love. Okay.
So she gets me to a room, and they're chatting, on their speaker things with the midwife. And the midwife's like, "Oh, she wanted a room with a tub." And I was like, "Don't worry about the tub. There's no time for a tub." So they get me in the room, and backing up a little bit, Trish, I had this 3-ring binder with all my birth plan. Like you say, it's a birth map for sure.
Yeah.
I have everything in there, affirmations that I want to hang up in the room, different positions to try, so that in case I forget something, it's all there. And I mean, I have this thing ready to go. My type A personality is right there.
Yeah. That
walk
kind
in
of
the
stuff
room.
Excites me. That's why I give you guys so much, because I love printouts of stuff.
It was so helpful to have that. I mean, in the moment, it didn't matter, but I was glad I had it. So I throw it on it was. And I think, it helped me just going through it, just extra reminders of things.
Yeah.
So I throw that on the couch. They're trying to get people in the room to help. And I just have your voice in my head, about sitting on a toilet. So I was like, "All right, Kevin, let's go to the bathroom." So I sit on the toilet and get undressed, and he's helping me take things off. And I'm like, "Oh, this is bad. This baby is coming. I might deliver this baby in the toilet."
In the toilet.
So that's not going to happen. So I stand up, and I start, walking back into the room, and the nurses are like, "Well, how about you get in the bed? Do you want to get in the bed?" And I was like, "No, I'm not getting in the bed." And so I just kneel down next to the bed, and I was like, "This is a position that feels right for me. I don't know why, but it just felt right." Yeah. And so thankfully I had a very supportive team, and they were like, "Okay, whatever position you feel comfortable in, go for it." And I'm like, "Great." So I knelt down next to the bed, and I remember them saying "Do you want something under your knees?" And normally I'm a people pleaser. So I'm like, "Oh no, I'm fine." But I was like, yes, just something, So they I remember them putting pillows or something under my knees. And I'm just kind of resting my head on the bed, kneeling next to it. And they just kind of swarm around me. It's calm, but there's a swarm of people. And so, one person.
And is your midwife in the room?
I think she was almost there, but not quite at that point, but soon. I mean, she was right there. Yeah. So one person
but did they have a provider in there with you just in case? I'm wondering. I'm guessing they probably had.
I don't know.
Yeah. I bet they had a hospitalist or someone, because I mean, you can tell.
Yeah. Oh,
when
yeah.
baby's
I mean,
coming.
I
Yeah,
think they all knew.
yeah,
So either the midwife was in there and I just didn't see her until like she had a
yeah,
chance to introduce herself, or someone was, I'm not sure, but
yeah,
they knew the baby was coming. There
yeah.
was no doubt. Yeah. So place IV catheter, there's someone like kneeling next to me, like with them, doing like the monitoring. Um, I can't even remember. It was such a blur. And so I'm kneeling there and I'm, having a contraction. I'm just like kind of grunting through it. And I'm like, oh man, I like this baby is coming. This baby's coming like right now. So that contraction happened. And I didn't push. But the midwife was like, all right, I'd like to check you. Um, but this was like my timing's probably a little bit off, but I remember like kneeling there and she's like, I want to check you, but I think you're about to have a contraction. I'm like, can you please wait until I have this contraction? She's like, no problem. So she waited. I was able to get through that contraction. She checked me and she's like, so you're 10 centimeters dilated, but there's still a lip of cervix. And in my head, I'm like, oh no, because I've heard stories of people like where they're told like there's still a lip of cervix and you can't push yet. Like, and I was like, this is not good. Like I'm going to have to push. And so I was like, basically like crying, like, if I have to push, can I push? Like, I really think I need to push. And she's like, yes, you can push. It's a really soft lip of cervix. Like, don't worry. If you have to push,
Yeah.
you just listen to your body and you push. And I was like, okay, great. So the next contraction, I'm like, I'm pushing. So and I am,
Game time.
it is game time. And during this, once I'm at the hospital, so like I said, my whole plan was to go unmedicated. But once I got there, I was like, I can't do this. There's no way I can do this. I'm in so much pain. My mind
Transition.
is going crazy. Like, I can't do
Yeah.
this. And, like, I know I can't get an epidural, but I like kind of mentioned it to my husband. He's like, there's no time. So I'm laying there contracting and I'm like, how about nitrous oxide? Can someone give me nitrous oxide? And I think they just like looked at each other like,
They're like, we can't even go get it in time.
right, exactly. So
Yeah.
I think someone pretended to like stand up to go get something, but yeah, they
Yeah.
were just like, she's nuts. So I push and my water breaks. And then the next contraction, I push, I feel her crowning. I am screaming, to be honest. And thankfully my husband had the just the understanding of what I needed in that moment. And he got on the other side of the bed. He looked me straight in the eyes and he was like,
So he
Liz,
squatted down too, or did he
yep,
lean
he's
over?
kneeling. Exactly. He's
Yeah.
kneeling on the other side of the bed. He grabs my hands and he's like, you can do this. He's like, breathe and you can do this. And, the nurses are like, breathe, get air to the baby. And I'm hearing you in my head, like, get air to the baby, get air to the baby.
It's my favorite thing to
I love
say.
it.
Yeah.
And, it was very intense. But,
Yeah.
that ring of fire, I honestly thought that I was like, I don't think I can do this. I think they're going to have to knock me out and pull this baby out of me, like for a second, like it
Do
was
you now
so
relate to
intense.
my story? Remember when I told you guys that with Lainey, I literally contemplated cutting her out of my stomach
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
transition? Now you
Yeah.
understand.
I understand completely. I'm like,
And
oh
I
my
was
gosh, like,
logically thinking I could cut her out and that would be
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Like I was thinking this, like, not that I would cut her out, but I was like, someone's going to have to cut this
Someone
baby
can.
out of me
Yeah.
or to pull it. I don't like, but I'm going to have to
Yeah.
be unconscious for this because I
Yeah.
can't do this.
This is way too much.
This is too much, but
And for
you know,
those of you who are still pregnant, that is usually indication that baby's coming now.
yeah,
So when you feel that like out of control, crazy, like maddening thought, that usually means the baby is coming very soon. So inside of our birth classes, we teach the coach and mom to recognize when she's having really crazy thoughts that he can redirect her, and or whoever's your coach or your partner can redirect you and remind you that baby's coming. This means baby's coming. You're almost done.
yeah. And I think that's what got me through, knowing I am clearly in transition, even if it's hard to recognize. I'm kind of panicking.
Yeah.
I'm in transition and we're almost there. But again, I was like, I can't do this. But yeah, Kevin, he did great. got me through it. She crowned. I tried to relax a little when that ring of fire happened, but I was like, so I just pushed kind of hard, and they're like, yep, there's her head. And then another push, there she is. And that was that. And I mean, as soon as she was out, it was like just this like intense emotion. Like,
Let me
I
see if
don't
I
hurt
can
anymore.
share the pictures. I'm gonna see, you can
Yeah.
still talk, but let me
Okay.
see if I can load the pictures so they can see exactly what you're talking about because I love your
Yeah.
pictures so much. I just
Yeah.
don't know if I can. I don't
Okay.
think I can. Let me see. No, it won't let me poop. I'll see while you're talking, I'll see if I can make it where we can see them. So you can
Okay.
kind of finish what you were feeling.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, just this intense emotion. Oh my gosh, I did it. That was awesome. Um, and so the midwife, she's like, "Can I pass the baby to you?" So I'm kneeling there still.
Yeah,
She passes, yep, still there. She passes the baby between my legs. And they have it in a towel, I think, just so I don't drop her because she's,
they're
slippery.
very
Um,
slippery.
yes, very slippery.
Yeah,
And I'm kneeling on the ground, not even, again, not in the bed.
yeah.
So I'm kind of holding her in a towel, and um, when babies come out, they look kind of blue, and I was like, "Is she okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, she's fine." Except we didn't know what the gender was, and so I'm holding her just with this like complete euphoria, and then I was like, "Wait, I don't even know, like, who is this
Like,
baby?"
what is
Um,
it? Yeah.
so I mean, it was probably only a few seconds, but it seemed like I like lost track of time for minutes, and so I pull the towel back and show my husband, and we both look and we're like, "Oh, it's a girl." And then I'm just kind of kneeling there, kind of like holding her as close to me as I can. Um, and
There you go. I
yeah,
have it.
so that's
Oh,
exactly where
that is
I
not the best
was.
picture, you guys. Look at
uh,
her face in that picture on the right. Like, what were you feeling right then?
oh man, just like again, like that euphoria, like pure joy. I'm finally meeting my daughter. I did this. Did I do this? I did. I
Yeah.
did. Like that.
Like, oh my
I
God, I did
did
it.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It
It's
was
so
amazing.
incredible. Yeah.
Yep.
Do
And then
you
I
think there's
remember.
any
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead. No, 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 go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying. I remember them saying like we're gonna like clamp the cord, and I was like, no, I want delayed cord clamping. And like, oh yeah, no problem. So we waited a few minutes, and then she's like, so I'm just sitting there holding this baby, like kneeling,
In an
and she's like,
awkward
okay,
position.
in a very awkward position. And she's like, Liz, I think the placenta's coming. Can we clamp the cord? And so we clamped it. Kevin cut it, and then she's like, yeah, the placenta's coming. I was like, oh yeah, yep. And she's like, you can push it out if you want. So it came smoothly, and they clamped the cord, and then I was able to at that point crawl into the bed and lay with my
Yeah.
baby.
I love your story. I love your
Thank
story. It's just so good. I'm wondering if anybody has any questions, but so whenever I do birth stories, I always ask like, what would you do differently? Is there anything you feel like you would do differently?
Bring a bucket. um,
Yeah. I'm sure your son's jacket probably feels exactly the same way.
yeah, my poor car. um, no, but in reality, like I oh, I do actually know what I would do different. So the pictures that were taken were obviously by a nurse. And I'm pretty sure she
They're
just took my
amazing
husband's.
though.
They're great. I mean, this was no like photographer. This was just a
I
nurse
thought
was
it was
like,
a photographer, honestly.
no. Um, so I'm pretty sure she just took my husband's phone like once I delivered and started taking pictures. My one
Yeah.
regret is that someone did ask me like, "Do you want pictures while this is happening?" And I said no, and I do regret that. Which
Mm,
is like
yeah.
everything else went amazing, and yes, I would have
Yeah.
liked to get to the hospital maybe a little bit sooner, um, but I don't know how to change that because
To me, I
again, like
think you got there at the right exact
right
time.
time, yeah. I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
really,
perfect.
yep. And she was
I
born at
love
10:52.
an
So
hour later.
yes.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one thing I would say is I love that you brought up, and we talk about this in our birth classes. So, for those of you who aren't one of our students, one of the things that sets my birth classes apart from all others is that we meet every week and we hang out as a group. And one of the things we've talked about before, because we talk a lot about provider communication, because that's infused with every prenatal visit, your birth. And a lot of women get really afraid that their providers are going to push back really hard. And some providers do. So I empower you guys on how to handle that as well. But like Liz pointed out, most of the time, it just takes a no. And that's that. It's done. So I definitely want to say to you guys that there's a couple things that I love about her story. One, they wanted to get her in the bed and she said no. And I tell my students all the time, like, they may tell you a lot of pushback when you're not at this point and you're being, like if you're at a doctor's appointment, you're like, well, I don't want to get in the bed. Oh, well, you have to get in the bed. But when you're at this point, no one's going to manhandle you. So if someone is like, you need to get in the bed, you need to get on your back, you need to roll over, you need to put your feet in the stirrups, you just don't listen. You just keep doing your things, because I promise you, no one will manhandle you at all. So that is like something I feel is really important. They just let you do your thing and they adjusted to you. And that's what we do, because we're not going to like physically pick her up and put her in the bed, like she's about to have a baby. So I just want you guys to be encouraged that. So someone asked you which birth course you took.
Yeah. So I did the calm labor confident birth course, but I did a lot of the other like smaller courses too. So like the
Yeah.
purposeful positioning was probably key. Just to know like different positions. Of course, I only use one, but to know that gravity really helps and things like that.
Yeah.
And then the newborn class and the postpartum class and the coaches course, I took all of those as well.
Yeah. So we have two options. You can do the birth class, which does include the weekly hangouts and the community, the support community. And one thing we do offer is a chat, like a DM with me and my doula. So once you hit 37 weeks, you have that option of having like a private DM group chat with us. So we're available to you guys. Now, if it's 3 a.m. or you deliver within 50 minutes, might not benefit you so much, but in that case, you don't need us. But we also have an all access pass that gets you everything we offer. So I love your story so much, and your pictures. Like, I can't even tell you how many times I've looked at your pictures. I wish I had pictures like this from my birth. I
Yeah.
don't. I have some, but they're very like obstructed and not like
Yeah.
just that. But like this picture of you with this smile, I try to explain to people this is right there. Seeing that is why I feel so blessed to be a part of birth.
Yeah.
Like, I've gotten to see that thousands of times, and it's so amazing when you see that, and all of you guys will have that moment, no matter how your birth story
Yep.
unfolds. If you go in educated and empowered and you are in control, because you are, but if you use that power, you're going to leave your birth feeling like that. And I'm not saying you're going to have a perfect birth and everything's going to go perfectly, but when you make the decisions, you leave feeling empowered and not traumatized. And I think that, like you said before, like, your birth wasn't horrible with your son,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Are we going to have another baby? That's the question.
So that is the question. My husband and I had always kind of agreed on two, but as soon as I had her and, got home, I was like, Kevin, I want another. And he's like, I kind of want another one too. Of
Nice.
course, right now we're 6 weeks in and we're like, oh gosh, this
Yeah.
newborn thing is hard. But I want another one. So we'll see.
We got
I might
time,
have
so
to
good.
camp. Yeah, I might have to camp out at the hospital, but yeah, we'll see.
It sounds like you two have it down pat, so you'll be able to get there, I think. I will
This time will
say
be
number
more
two
prepared.
babies are usually faster than any other. I don't know why, but number two babies are like lickety split.
Yeah.
Well, I'm super glad that you came on. I'm so glad that I asked you. I've been wanting to, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it because I want
I'm so glad you
to.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you guys watching, also we have the courses open for a special enrollment, and if you get the just the birth course, you're also going to get the postpartum course for free. If you get the all access pass, you're going to get a one-on-one birth planning consultation with me for free. So that's the bonus for that package. You can go to labornursemama.com and then click on courses and you can find the information there. All right, you guys, I loved it. Thank you so much, Liz. I'll give you a link to the recording so you can have it. And tell your
Awesome.
husband, way to go. We're super proud of
I
him.
will. Thank you so much for having me on, Trish.
You're
This was
welcome. I'm
really
gonna
fun. I like
answer
telling it.
I'm going to answer this question really quick. Leah, so baby number three, usually faster than baby number one, but they definitely don't, they're not, I don't know, usually not as fast as baby number two. However, there's always that mom who breaks the norm. So baby threes are fast. They're not a number one slow, but they're usually not a number two, but also depends on how close together your babies are. Let's see. The all access pass comes with the purpose positioning and coach class. So the all access class, we have two signature birth courses. We have the VBAC lab and we have calm labor confident birth. Both of them right now, if you buy them, you get the postpartum class. The all access class comes with the signature birth course, the coach class, the newborn academy, purposeful positioning, the postpartum course, and you'll get a one-on-one consult with me for free as a bonus. And we'll create your birth plan for you and just go over your different fears and questions. But for all of you guys, whichever class you join, come to the happy hours. Like, what would you tell them about the happy hours? Because you still
Yeah, I
come with
think
the baby.
sometimes, yeah, I love
Yeah.
coming. Yeah, so the happy hours I think are such an amazing thing, and obviously not something that you'll get in another course, but so usually what happens is like, we kind of ask questions and things like that. And it's just really great to hear other people's questions because you might have been thinking the same thing, or you might not have even thought to think that, to ask that question or have even thought of that. And I will say one thing, for me is like, I wish I remember who, but I remember during one of the happy hours, like early on, when I had just started the course, someone had, gone into labor and delivery for some reason, like maybe they thought their water broke or something, but they hadn't, and they weren't in labor. And the doctor just like wanted to do a cervical check, and that person was like questioning them like, why do I need a cervical check? And the doctor's like, well, I just need to know where you are. And she put her foot down and said, no, you're not doing a cervical check. And the doctor's like, no, I need to do a cervical check. And she said, no, you don't. And
I
they kind
remember
of
that, but
like,
I don't remember who.
I don't remember who either, and they're like butting
Yeah.
heads. But she's like, you're not doing one. And like that just really inspired me, like, and there's more stories like that too.
Yeah.
But that to me was one that I was like, you're awesome, like I want to be like you. That's going to give me strength to stand up for
Yeah.
what I want and give me that kind of empowerment to you know fight for what I want and advocate for myself. Because even though I am type A, sometimes I'll back down. So,
Yeah.
that was just really inspiring to me. And so there's stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I love the happy hours.
I do too. Like I love them. And
Yeah.
the good thing about the happy hours, you guys, is that once you join, we have a private community on an app, and we house all the past happy hours. So you can go through instead of binge watching Netflix, you can binge watch the happy hours, and so that you can see those different conversations. I mean, I love the happy hours too because do you remember the one where one of the moms was sharing like body image, like she did not love her pregnancy body, and like she was
Yeah.
really struggling because on Instagram and everywhere and everybody's talking about loving their body and loving the body they're in, and she was really feeling like what is wrong with me? So like we go into stuff like that, and that's what I love
Yeah.
like about the group. Like I learned so much from you guys too, you know?
Yeah,
So
and it's just such a supportive community, I think,
yeah,
which
I think so
is
too.
so great to have.
Yeah.
And for me, so when I decided to go on Medicaid, I didn't really tell very many people because I didn't like of people that I knew because like I didn't want questions or pushback or
Yeah.
anything. So it's a place that you
Or
can
you don't
go.
have to be a superhero.
Right. Like, well, why would you want to do that? So I, felt strongly about just having other people that were either like-minded or even if they weren't going to question me
Yeah.
on what I wanted for my birth. So,
Yeah. Well, and I love too that when one of you guys faces some sort of like issue with your provider or whatever, the rest of you guys are like, oh, hell no, like coming
yeah.
up and like supporting each other. And like,
yeah.
even when one of you guys are like that are normally there, miss a happy hour, everyone's like, where is Liz? What happened with
Yeah.
this? And like, even like, there's been times where we've had a couple girls thinking they were in labor during happy hour, and one of them
Yeah.
was, one wasn't.
Yeah.
So it's just been fun, fun, fun. Yeah, it's so crazy, you guys. We talk about this in the happy hours that when you're pregnant, everybody thinks they have a right to tell you what you should do. And that's one thing I absolutely don't do with my students. I give you all the options, all the knowledge, and then you choose your path. I'm not like I did unmedicated with my births, but that's not for everyone. And I think that my epidural moms get flack and my unmedicated mom gets flack because some people will be like, why don't you go unmedicated? Because if you get an epidural, then it can cause this and that and the other. And like, you should try it this way. No, you should do what's best for you. And only you know that. And that is what drives me crazy. And like you said, if you choose unmedicated, they're going to give you trouble. If you choose
Yeah.
epidural, they're going to give you trouble. If you want to do this, that, or the other, it's like if you want to go past your due date, that's a whole nother bag that people give you trouble. So that's what I like about our community too, because we have a lot of girls that go past their due date that refuse induction, and they don't get the support they get during happy hour. They don't get that everywhere. All their families like, the baby come, when's the baby coming? What, everyone else is like, yes, go girl, you got this.
Yeah.
That's how we are. We're like, you're doing
When are you going to
great,
be
you're doing fine.
induced?
Yeah,
I feel like there's so
yeah,
many that's out there, but I love it during happy hour, like, the 40 weekers or 39, 41 weekers are bouncing on the
on the
ball.
ball. Yeah.
I love it.
I know. So last week when I was doing the happy hours with the Fearless Birth VIP members who aren't my students, I was laughing. I'm like, oh, you guys need to come and hang out with us because some of them were on their ball. It's so funny, you guys, because sometimes we'll have the whole screen with the little Zoom things, and people are like, "Bloop, bloop, bloop." I love it. Well, we probably need to get going. But thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. I know that it's been a blessing to everybody. So if you guys
Thanks so
haven't
much.
joined the birth course, we're stopping the special tomorrow night at midnight. So until midnight tomorrow night, you can get those bonus goodies, and then we won't do another special like that until the end of July. So no matter, and Liz can tell you, we have girls that aren't even pregnant yet that join the birth class and come to happy hour every week. So no matter where you're at, that is something different with our classes. If you're planning to just do the class and not take part in the community, then I suggest you do it by 32 to 34 weeks. But the community is where it's at. All right. Thank you. Good night.
Thanks,
Good
Trish.
night,
Good night.
everyone.